Okay, let's bring in Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He's one of the 4 senators calling for that select committee. He is also the ranking member on the Armed Services Committee. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Allison.
You heard the majority leader there. A select committee is not necessary for this, he says.
The Russian intrusion into our election is unprecedented. A foreign government, through their security services, intervening deliberately and frankly, from some intelligence reports at the very highest levels to affect our election, is not something that can be treated as business as usual. And what the majority leader is suggesting is this business as usual. I think we have to have a joint committee. Senator McCain, Senator Graham, Senator Schumer, and I believe on a bipartisan basis we do, to answer these questions, to let the American people know what happened. And I think also the Trump administration should be interested in that, because their foreign policy, particularly with respect to the Russians, will always be questioned unless there's definitive answers.
Well,
so I just think this is not the...
I mean, the majority leader is not saying that this is business as usual. I mean, he said that it's a matter of genuine concern, but he's saying that it can be handled by the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Well, I think what he is not either realizing or stating is that this is an issue that cuts across so many jurisdictional lines. Senator McCain and I are proposing to have deliberations in the Armed Services Committee, which will consider the military aspects, the National Security Administration, overseas activities. But this is not just the Intelligence Committee, it's the Homeland Security Committee. They have responsibilities within the United States for the protection of cyber information. We've got the Justice Department, their activities. The FBI, they're involved in this investigation, notification, whatever. All of that is beyond the role of the Intelligence Committee. So essentially what we've done, and I think very appropriately, on a bipartisan basis, is ask that we have a joint committee, that all these voices are represented, but not only that, that we're going to lead to legislation. We're going to actually do something, not simply sort of kick the can down the road. Legislation that's going to make us better prepared, because these incidents are not going to go away.
So are you saying the Senate Intelligence Committee cannot do anything on its own?
I think what they can do, and what they will do, and what they have to do, is behind closed doors look very carefully at the intelligence, make an evaluation of the intelligence, but in terms of public disclosure, in terms of being able to pull together elements from the Judiciary Committee, elements from the Foreign Relations Committee, that's something that is not likely to happen. What you will have is a fragmentation of effort. You'll have committees pursuing different small aspects of the overall problem, and you won't be able to effectively and rapidly put together comprehensive legislation.
Okay, so
cyber is one of those issues that cuts through everything.
So then why is Senate Majority Leader McConnell not agreeing to it?
Well, I just think he's has either failed to recognize the import, or he simply doesn't want to have these answers presented to the American public of what precisely went on. I think, again, I think not only would we benefit from it, but also I think the administration, the Trump administration, as it enters into their operations, will want to have these answers before the American public.
Do you think he's protecting the Trump administration?
Well, I don't think he's going out of his way to answer these questions, and I think, curiously enough, as I've suggested, he might be doing them in a way a disservice, since their activities, particularly against the Russians, will always be now subject to some suspicion about whether or not there was some activity, collusion, even inadvertent discussions that went on between their campaigns. So this has to be pursued.
I want to ask you about something else that needs to be pursued, and that is, of course, the Turkish gunman who on Monday killed the Russian ambassador to Turkey. Somehow, as a result of that attack, it seems as though there's been an alliance formed between Turkey and Russia. The opposite of what you would think would happen, but now an alliance formed with them whereby they're almost cutting the U.S. out of any sort of Syrian plan. What do you think of what's happened this week?
Well, I think what's happened this week was preceded by very much serious concern in Turkey after the attempted coup. And also the concern about the Kurds within Turkey, also Kurds operating with us in Syria. And as a result, they seem to have changed their position versus Assad's regime in Syria. And they're now willing to talk to the Russians, talk to the Iranians. They have excluded, as you point out, excluded the United States. I don't think those talks will be entirely successful because you need all parties around the table for a solution. But it indicates to me not too much the assassination, unfortunate assassination of the Russian ambassador, but more or less the uncertainty in Turkey after the coup, and also their concern about the Kurds.
Yeah. But how troubled are you that the U.S. has been excluded?
Well, I don't think it's a good sign, because I don't think it can contribute to the overall stability within Syria. And in addition, it seems to give Assad a longer sort of tenure. And you know, our policy has been and should be to get him out of there as quickly as possible. So it's not encouraging. The only good thing might come about is if they could lower the level of violence as they talk. That would be a relief to the Syrian people. But I think long term, to get a stable, durable solution, you're going to have the involvement not only of Turkey, Russia, but the United States and the United Nations and the international community.
Senator Jack Reed, thanks so much for being on New Day.
Thank you very much, Allison.